It was February 17, 2008. The U.S. Department of Agriculture recalled 143 million pounds of beef after the Humane Society presented videotape evidence of the mistreatment of downer cows. There's two stories in the mainstream media here. One, that the cows were being mistreated. They were beaten in the face, shocked, rammed with a forklift, and something reminiscent of waterboarding, where a high-pressure water hose is used to force water down the mouth and nose of a crippled cow for several minutes, while an employee shouts, "Up or die!" The Humane Society's beef with all this is that it constitutes animal cruelty. The underlying story is that downer cows are not supposed to be accepted into the food chain for fear of mad cow disease. And the video shows cows that anybody with a brain would consider non-ambulatory who are being shoved onto the killing floor along with the healthier cows. But all this covers up the real story, one that has been well known to media for years but consistently ignored. It all started when the first mad cow showed up in the United States.
I was the head cow killer, and that's what I was doing out there that day, killing cows. And that was an ordinary day. Like, it was just like every day. Cows come in, cows go out, and that's the way it worked.
It was over in eastern Washington, at a little slaughterhouse that took bovine dregs to their hamburger future. The head cow killer was processing a truckload of downers.
On this day, this is our second truckload of cows. We've done a bunch of walking cows, and now they brought this trailer full of downer cows in there. I went and got the USDA vet and brought him out there, and I told him the downers are here. So we opened up the door of the trailer, and then inside the back, there's different compartments in the trailer. Now inside the back of that trailer is 3 cows laying in there. They're downers. One of them is in a coma. It's what you call a flat cow. I just shot her, just put her out of her misery. Then we temped and took in. The first one was was a down cow. There was no walking to it. Took her right on in. The second one was down in the back. She had broke legs and stuff, and she was up in the front. She temped out. She went right on in.
This cow killer wasn't really any different from the cow killers in the Humane Society's video. But in those days, before the first mad cow showed up, the test of whether any particular cow was fit for slaughter was more humane. They simply measured his temperature.
One of the things you do on down cows is you temp them. That's the main thing you go by. They've got to be, their temperature's got to be under 103 or over 97. If it's over 103, they've got a fever, and that means they've got some kind of systemic infection going on. If it's under 97, that means they're in the process of dying. You know, they got no body temperature. They call it moribund, whatever that means.
These cows were all going to die on the spot. They were already down or they wouldn't be there. But some would be used for meat and others went to the rendering plant. Nowadays, instead of passing a temperature test, the cow is tortured into crawling through the slaughterhouse door. The parallels with Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo are unbearable. It's easy to see why the Humane Society is upset. The USDA, which set up the new rules in response to the discovery of the mad cow, wasn't concerned with the severity or the heartlessness of the cow killer's methods. They were just worried that at least some slaughterhouses were pushing broken down cows into the food chain, even though they couldn't be tortured up onto their knees. But the new rules purposefully missed the point, hiding the real crime.
I opened up the door, the next compartment, there's a big white Holstein standing in there. Nice looking cow. I mean, she wasn't like what we ordinarily get in beautiful animals. And I asked the driver, I said, who owns this cow and why is she here? Because we do some, that stuff we do over to Burns is bad stuff. But this was a nice cow. I said, why is this cow here? The driver said it was Sonny Dean cow, and she's here just because he didn't feel like messing with Sonny in the sale yard and all. And so, now ordinarily I would have took this cow off the trailer and I would have run it around and put it in the pens.
The mad cow wasn't a downer. It just showed up in a trailer with downers.
Big old all white cow. She wasn't even skinny yet. Usually by the time we get them, they're all bones and hide because they've been laying out in the sick pen for so long, but this one still had some meat on it.
When the Holstein turned out to be the mad cow, the USDA told the public that they had the situation under control. The USDA banned downer cows from being taken into slaughter. The problem, of course, is that the new policy would not have stopped this cow with its disease from being processed and ultimately eaten by you and me.
And she was standing there. Now, she had been friendly up to that point, but he was burning her in the butt. He wanted her to get down. He didn't care. He didn't care if she went off or he didn't care. Once that cow's off his trailer, he don't give a damn.
Why even test the all-white Holstein cow? It was a walking cow, not a downer, and only downers were tested for disease.
The driver was poking her in the butt with a hot shot. He wanted her to get off the trailer because as soon as his trailer is empty, he's out of there. But in the meantime, this cow didn't want to get off. This cow was going to turn around and she was going to run back into the trailer, up to the front of the trailer, and she was going to stomp all these downers in the process and just to save everybody a big wreck. I asked the vet, I said, "You seen her?" He said, "Yeah, I guess." And I shot her, chained her up just like a downer, and sent her right on in just like she was a downer. Well, because I did that, that technically made her a backdoor cow, and that's the ones we were taking the BSE samples from, which we just started doing that. And so in she went, and she got tested, and that was the end of that.
The cow went in with the downers and got the mad cow test, but because it had arrived on its feet, the veterinarian had not taken its temperature.
The USDA contract said they would give us $10 a sample for 1,000 samples of downers.
2 weeks later, when the test came back positive on that all-white Holstein cow, the cow pies hit the fan. The cow killer came into work to find the plant full of inspectors and other officials.
Soon a phone call comes from D.C. Dr. DeHaven says, "We're not going to kill any more downers. That'll take care of the BSE problem," which is not what I was all crap anyway. So I'm asking the inspector, at least tell me which cow it is. He said, "Oh, it was that." Well, he wasn't there that day, but another inspector was. He told me it was a Sonny Dean cow, 6810. And as soon as he said it was a Sonny Dean cow, the cow flashed into my mind, and I knew exactly which. Don't ask me how, I have no idea. But I knew exactly which cow he was talking about. And I went up here and I checked this kill sheet right here. And I ran my finger down to 6810, fourth one off, and it was that Walker. And I was like, damn, a nice looking cow like that. Had a mad cow. So it's about the same time I'm doing all this is when I heard that we're not going to kill downers anymore. That's how they're going to take care of the problem. And as soon as the inspector told me we weren't going to kill downers and that's going to take care of the BSE problem, I'll tell you what, my whole life flashed before my eyes. I'm not kidding. I knew exactly what was going on. I knew no more downers. We're supposed to be testing downers. So instead of the USDA stopping all the killing and testing every cow, trying to find this, what they were doing was suspending the BSE testing. They weren't going to take no more tests. They were going to quit looking. And I was like, I had these guys were still right here, and I feel right now like going, this can't be right. First of all, that wasn't a down cow, it was a walking cow, a good walking cow. And I went over to the office and I had opened the vet's door and I said, "Hey, Doc, that cow was a walker. It wasn't a downer, it was a walker." And he says, "Now, why the hell did I have it down here as a suspect?" And I mean, his face was red. He's usually a pretty nice guy. I knew what was going on. They were going to try to bury this, and I told them. I turned around on my little crowd following me around, and I said, "There's no way I'm going to be part of no goddamn cover-up. If I don't work for the government, this ain't going to be Area 51. I'm not covering up nothing." Bullshit. I ain't doing it. Well, then my crowd went like this. The USDA guys ran into that office, the FDA guys ran into that office, and they were gone. And I was back there by myself then, and I was thinking, somebody's got to do something. They're going to flood the market with these cows. Now we know the BSE's in there. They're going to flood the market with these cows. People are going to get sick. People are going to die. They're just going to try to smooth over it.
He was just a cow killer, probably thinking of Christmas rather than looking for a cause. But in that moment that separates a stand-up guy from an amoral coward, he stepped forward. An Eastern Washington David facing off against the other Washington's Goliath. As he summed it up, "I'm a cow killer, proud to be a cow killer, but I'm no murderer." He said that if people died of mad cow disease because of the cover-up, he felt he'd be complicit in the deaths of a potential epidemic of human victims.
At lunchtime, I don't know, it ain't like me at all, but at lunchtime I said, okay, this is what you're going to do. You're going to get on this, and you're going to stay on it, and you're not going to stop until it's finished. You know, something was, you know, I didn't hear a voice, but I had a feeling just was on me that said, this is what you're going to do. And I opened the front door, and if you see that KXLY news tape, you see me coming across the parking lot smoking. And I walked straight up to him, and I said, what do you want to know? Start asking. Anything you start asking them. They grabbed their clipboards. Oh my God, someone's going to talk. And they said, the USDA says that this cow was BSE presumptive positive, but it's not in the food chain. And I said, of course it's in the food chain. Where else would it be? It's meat. You know, you can't paint a house with it. It's not building materials. It's meat. We killed it, shipped it, it got eaten, it's gone. They said, the USDA says this cow was a downer, and they're going to suspend all downers, and that's going to take care of the problem. And I said, this cow was a good walking cow, and I described to them like I described to you the whole situation. That was a good, fine walking cow. She didn't have a single symptom of anything you would suspect was a mad cow. She didn't even have a runny nose. The only thing wrong with that cow was she had a little blood on her tail because she'd had a calving problem, and that's why she was there, because once the cow's had a calving problem, it's not going to have any more calves, and it's not going to give any more milk, and they're not going to waste any more hay on a cow that ain't going to be earning its keep, and that's why it was there.
He went back into the plant, keenly aware that there was a cover-up brewing.
I didn't know what to do. I knew that the USDA was up to no good. People were going to be eating bad meat, and I had to stop it, but I couldn't figure out what to do. I didn't know who to call.
Although the cow killer decided to take a stand in the public interest, the plant inspector and the veterinarian went along with the cover-up.
Even though they ordered him to do this, I know Rodney well, and he's an honorable man, and he's a family man, and he's a good man, but he made his mistake back in December when they said, we've got to have you doctor this paperwork. What he should have said was, no, I quit. But he didn't, and he did doctor the paperwork.
When the cow killer tried to point out the obvious, the authorities forged the paperwork to perfect their cover-up. Committed to his path, the cow killer stole a copy of the kill sheet, the smoking gun.
I caught him making this paper right here. I stuck my head in his door on the 26th. When I was asking him why they were saying this, he was in there, hand penciled the paper when I opened that door up. And then he was pointing right at it, going, why do I have it down here as a suspect? And that's what I've had a feeling when he was talking about. Now the inspector come up to me, Don West is his name, he came up to me later on in that day, and he said that the doc has got to have that cow down where it's his ass.
The cow killer knew the truth and had the evidence, but the cover-up was stampeding ahead.
Every downer on that trailer's got a temp. 100 degrees, 99 degrees, 94 and dropping, 99.6, except for that cow. It says unable to get a temp. Now, can you think of a single reason why you couldn't walk up to a down cow and stick a thermometer in her butt? It's real complicated. So, when I saw that come out, the USDA made that thing. When I saw that it wasn't temp, when I saw this, what I call the smoking gun, that this paperwork was forged, because nobody would ever bring a down cow in without a temp. I mean, you can call any vet, any veterinary pathologist, anybody you want to talk to, any state, anywhere, you would never bring downers in without temping. That's the number one thing you go by. When I saw that this cow was unable to temp, having worked with Rodney for years and knowing he never ever brought in a cow without a temp, you know, we'd be killing, the thermometer would get broken, we would stop production until somebody went down there to the drugstore and got another thermometer and came back. That's how important it was. Now he's got this cow down, is unable to get a temp.
He turned to the government inspectors themselves.
I decided, I said, who cares about safe meat? Inspectors are very picky people. Like, you know, they make you wash your hands 1,000 times a day. I said, if anybody cares, the inspectors will care. And so I got on the, I never had a computer in my life. My lady had a rented computer so we could look up castles and stuff. But I got on that computer, yeah, they're pretty neat. So I got on that computer and I went to the USDA pages on the FSIS, you know, the Food Safety Inspection Service page, and there's a little section in there where you can get any email address to any inspector in the country. They use that page to call each other back and forth. It's kind of like their private use deal. I got on there. In fact, I got a copy of that right here, as a matter of fact. Yeah, I sent this email out right here. And I didn't know I'm a computer expert. I send emails all day long. But at the time, I didn't know what the cut and paste feature meant. I'm not kidding. I typed this out 200 times. It says, now I sent this, and this is on Sunday the 4th, January 4th. It says, are you just going to, this is to all the inspectors. I started with the letter A, all the letter A's, all the letter B's. I got halfway through the letter C's and the machine went, they shut it off. I think it's some kind of anti-spamming device or something. But anyway. It says, are you just going to sit there with your hands in your pockets while Ann Benneman lies through her teeth to the world about safe meat when she has actually stopped all brain stem sampling? No more down cows means no more samples, period. My name is Dave Lyle and I work at Burns. I killed that mad cow. That rendering plant in Canada was not just making feed for 81 cows. It made feed for thousands of cows. Every beef killed must be tested starting right now. People have eaten the bad meat and they are going to die. Letting this go on quietly is without honor and in fact is criminal. Stop BSE now. Speak up. I typed that out 200 times.
For his trouble, the cow killer lost his job at the slaughterhouse. But he didn't stop there. By the time we got this interview, the cow killer had spoken to all the major press. They would tape it, but not run it. We carried the story on Indie Media Presents, and it showed up here and there around the edges. But for all his testifying, it didn't seem to matter. As a result, we simply have no idea how many other innocent-looking mad cows have sashayed their way into our food chain. Japan tests every cow. The U.S. could do the same, but it would cost big corporations a little bit, and everybody knows how tempting it is for executives to choose profit before human safety. In this case, the USDA is in on the plot. In this story, we see the awful result of a government that doesn't really look after us any more than they do the suffering cows. The horror. The horror. We have become a nation of torturers, and it's eating right into our brains. After long incubation, it will be way too late to stop the apocalypse. Prions, the not-quite-a-virus things that cause mad cow, are not destroyed by normal methods of sterilization, even in hospitals. The Japanese government tests every cow. The U.S. covers up our danger while the downers get tortured, all for a quick buck. The danger to humans lies in contact with brain and nervous tissue. The cow killer worries about contamination because he knows all too well how the cows are processed.
They're saying that before the cow is processed, we remove the brain and the spinal cord, which the brain is removed, but you know, that's another deal over here. The head goes that way. We're talking about the beef carcass right now. Now, you know what a backbone looks like? It's a big gnarly bone, long, big. You've seen backbones before. Tell me how you're going to take the spinal cord out of that. You can't. There's no way to do it. You take the splitting saw. Here's the cow. It's hanging by its back legs off two rails like this. Great big old cow. And you're standing there, and you got to cut it like the top of that cow is as high as that nozzle right there. You got this big old saw. It's a band saw like you use in wood shop, only it's hanging by cables, and it's got hot water in it. When you squeeze the trigger, that hot water sprays on the blade. It keeps that fat and blood and stuff melted off of that so the blade doesn't jump off of the sprockets. and you start up there where the tail used to be. You cut the tail off by now, and you saw this thing right down the exact center of the cow. Your very best cut goes right through the center of the spinal cord, all the way down. That's like 6-8 foot, all the way down to the end of the neck. And so this saw has got big teeth on it. It's just ripping down through that backbone and it's pulling out spinal cord material, bone dust, blood, fat, meat, and it's mixing with the hot water jets that are spraying on the blade. This forms a big bloody slurry that's just running down. It just runs down these cows, inside and out. And if this cow's got BSE, that entire beef has been contaminated. You know, we'll take it over here to the next station and you hose off the big pieces with the garden hose, but then it goes into the cooler. You know, now all that contamination is into the fat. You know, the fat's kind of a bony kind of thing. You know, all that prions are now into it, all over the surface of this cow. And so they let it cool, they bring it out, it's time to process it, throw it down there, and you start cutting on it. Every time you push your knife through that meat, it takes that contamination right into the meat with it. Every time you run it through a saw, it's pushing that contamination. So every steak, right across the face of every steak, every roast, every cut you make, you can't cut from the outside to the inside without taking a little, you know, it's as if you, think about it, you know, smeared peanut butter, pretend prions is peanut butter. Now think about how to cut through that peanut butter without pushing that peanut butter into that cut. You can't do it. It can't be done. And so every cut they make is a contaminated steak, contaminated roast. There is no safe cut of meat. A sick cow is a sick cow is a sick cow.
It doesn't have to be that way. We could screen all the cows. Our situation is a lot like the federal response to the threat of Hurricane Katrina, a go cheap, hope for the best strategy, which in that case turned out to be deadly.
And if this cow's got mad cow, and that cow goes on by, we're not going to stop and wash the saw every cow. Even if you could wash prions off, we wouldn't do it. You know, if that's a good cow, then the next cow gets split with the same saw. It gets contaminated, and the next one. So if you do 3,000 cows in a day, you're going to contaminate 3,000 cows. You know, that's why they need to do testing.
So that's the story corporate media is hiding. They tell us how the USDA nabbed a perpetrator who first tortured and then processed some cows who couldn't walk, and how a lot of meat was recalled. What they don't recall is that all-white Holstein walking just fine that day in December when it got tested on a fluke. If the mad cow that day wasn't a downer, then the whole system is a joke, and it isn't just the cows that are standing in shit. We thought you'd like to know. For the Pepper Spray Video Activist Collective and the Seattle Indie Media Center, this is Randy Rowland.